Hello again. So now that we know what's at our dining room setup, it's time for the good part. It's time to eat. So to explore the plate, it's very similar to systematic search patterns that I've talked about before and that are an overarching theme in all independent living skills and all blindness skills. There's so many applications that could be a 2-hour video all on its own, and I probably still wouldn't cover anything. Or cover everything. So what you can do if you've gone to a restaurant, if you know what you've ordered, then you know what you're looking for. So thinking about how those foods feel. So if you order a chicken breast with mashed potatoes and roasted broccoli, thinking about the fact that that chicken is going to be one solid hunk. It's going to be harder, more firm to the touch. The mashed potatoes are going to be softer, and again, probably one group or unit that all stays together. The broccoli, if you touch it and move it lightly, is going to move on you, and it's going to be have a little bit of a firm texture also, but you'll be able to feel the pieces. If you don't know what you've ordered and you've gone to because you did not order and you're at a banquet or something like that, feeling free to ask the waiter, what are we having for dinner tonight? And it doesn't have to be something that is done in an obvious way of you trying to figure out what's going on here. You can do it very, do it with a lot of grace and just go, oh, what are we having tonight, or what are we serving? If you want, you could ask the waiter or anyone that might be with you to describe where things are on the plate using clock directions, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. You can have them do it using cardinal directions if that works for you. So what's at your north, what's at your east. Or you could also do it using more plain language, like what's at the top of the plate, on the left, on the right, on the bottom. So having a system that works for you in place before you go out, so you're not stressing about it in the moment and you just have your skills you can go to. So an example of how you may start, so for instance, I know that on this plate are some cucumbers and tomatoes for like a little salad, there's some bread, and then there is a meat. So I know that my bread and my meat potentially could be the same size or similar sizes, but my bread's gonna be softer and my meat's gonna be heavier and won't move as easily. And my ingredients for my salad are gonna be the lightest things, and they're gonna move with the most ease. So if I start out in what's right directly in front of me, so at my 6 o'clock, and come in with the back of my fork and just start pushing it. And it didn't move easily, so I'm gonna assume that this is my meat, but I'm still gonna keep exploring, because what you may find is, hypothetically, you may find that the next thing is even heavier and go, ooh, that was actually my bread. So comparing it once you've checked out everything. So I moved to my bread is definitely moving with a lot of ease, and I'm still working around the clock, and I'm now looking for one more thing, and now I'm finding little smaller pieces that are moving with, really no pressure at all. And then I'm back at my meat. So in eating the salad, or anything that is in a smaller pieces, and that can potentially move as you're eating it. So if you think of your sweet peas, if you think of kernels of corn, all those kind of things that are in small pieces. One technique for keeping track of those is using a plate like this that has a nice lip around the edge. So around the edge is probably about an inch from the edge of the plate down to the surface where the food is actually probably 2 inches. So that gives you a barrier that once you've found so for me it's cucumbers and cherry tomatoes, I have an edge that I can kind of push those towards and not have to worry about them rolling off as easily as if I had a flat plate. If you do have a flat plate, because you're in a restaurant and you didn't choose the setting, you can use your bread. So it could be a piece of bread like this, it could be a roll, as a pusher. And so the bread's job, then you find the thing that you're eating with your fork, and then your bread's job is to push it onto your fork. So I'm pushing it in towards the fork, and then I'm sticking my fork through it once I found it. This is really great for pesky little cherry tomatoes that you have to chase around. And then now it'll push push things towards you, and when you find them in the middle, you can stab your fork through it and pick it up, and these are not picking up easily. So you may even want to push it onto the fork with the bread. And then you have some items on your fork. And this goes back to the concept of the spreader and checking out the weight of your fork and or spoon before you scoop something up, and then checking to see what that weight is afterwards. So the last thing that we'll talk about is going to be cutting of the meat. So I have here 2 hamburger patties. You can imagine they are whatever you want. I'm going to personally imagine that they are filet mignon, and I'm here for a nice fancy steak dinner. But the first thing you want to do, which I did as I was talking, is I noticed there were 2 pieces there. So I just used my fork to push one piece right off of the top of the other one. So now I can work with them one at a time. You choose whichever one you want to work with. I will start with, I think I'll start with the one on my right. I swap my hand over. So my fork is now on my left hand. I'm coming in with my knife. And before I get started cutting, I want to see how big of a piece I have. So I'm using my fork to lightly go around the edges of my hamburger patty to see what it is. I'm going to use my fork to check out the back of my knife to see which edge is the cutting. So it makes a different noise and a different feel on that side with the cutting with the teeth versus the back of the blade, which is smooth and you can't even really hear it rubbing against it. So that gives me the ability to confirm that I am using the cutting edge. And then starting in a system again. So do I want to cut strips that are ultimately like a checkerboard pattern? So where I do long strips and then cut them into smaller ones. But finding out that size piece. So I want pieces that are about as big as my fork, because my fork is designed to go in my mouth. So I use my fork to find the outer edge of the meat and kind of line it up, and now I know I'll get a piece that's about the size of my fork. I'm using a sawing motion to cut through. Then I'm going to push that over again because I have this nice lip. I have plenty of space to push it over. And now I'm taking my knife and running it along the edges of the meat that I just cut. My fork is still in the meat. That's really important because that's your gauge for size. So I'm going to check and see, like, ooh, I have long pieces on either side. So I'm going to chop those pieces off. And then come back to this opposite end, find the edge. Again, using my fork as a guide, cut those pieces off. And